But then as a software engineer, you're not actually meeting up with the users. You know,
Mm.
there's this hierarchy within the process.
Roadblocks.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you have the product owner that actually probably speaks to the product manager. I don't know. It depends on the way the company is set up. You have
Organize,
the
yeah.
product. You have the product owner. You have the product manager or product manager, and then you have people that that they actually speak to the users, and then they basically um, get information from the users and then tell that to you. So you might not really feel what the users feel, the
Mm.
frustration the users feel when they actually use your product, when you don't speak to them. So that's the reason why a software engineer would feel very frustrated when he has to change something. But then
Okay.
when you actually look at it from the user's point of view, then you can get to think like the user, oh, I'm actually the user actually using this product. But then to be honest, looking at it from his point of view, yeah, it's very frustrating when you have to click 5 buttons before you can actually send a message. Yeah, it is very frustrating.
So effectively, what you're saying that as a software engineer, in situations where you have to probably do rework, if you have the opportunity, when you have the opportunity to sort of empathize with your end users, it's less of a task and more of like problem solving, which sort of makes it more fulfilling. It makes it more of a fulfilling task because you feel like you're trying to solve a problem
Yeah,
rather than just doing rework.
yeah,
And that's sort of the benefit you see of, because we're always going to get to this. We've spoken about this a couple
yeah,
of times, right? Isn't it?
yeah.
The need for sort of the whole team to sort of empathize with the user. So I think the question there is, should sh- I think product owners and product managers, whatever the case may be, that interface, that whoever is bridging the gap between the technical team and the users there, should they do more of a job, or more should they put more of a conscious effort towards helping you guys, at the back end or the front, the developers or the engineers, to empathize with users?
Um, I would say every company is very different.
Yeah.
So, like for example, in my company, we get to see or we get to speak directly because we have a QA, right? So the QA actually tests it. So in our case, they are our end users, right? Well, at least the first set of end users, the QA team, and then they
And I'm
get
guessing sorry, just in your gaming company, just there's a lot more testing
yeah,
done because of performance.
yeah,
Performance is yeah. Okay, go on.
yeah. So then they speak to us as a user using the game, and they also express their frustration to us directly as developers because we always have a meeting, you know. So I would say that because we always have a meet, like I think tomorrow we're also having a meeting like that as well,
Hmm.
where they actually express, we have a demo, and yeah, they actually tell us this is supposed to be changed or what stuff like that. So I think the whole point of what I'm trying to say is it will be very helpful if, well, in my opinion, and then from my experience, it will be very helpful if every team finds a way to get the developers, it's the software developer, to see things from the end user's perspective, because that would help you to show more empathy to the users. I can give you an example.
Go
Let's
on.
assume you work in a company and you always finish at 5 o'clock, for example,
Hmm.
and then before you go, you have a new task saying, "Oh, um, I don't know, you need to change the color of this particular page. The background color affects the actual text itself. Maybe the background color is white, and then the text is like ash or something, and that actually it affects the user's the user experience because the colors are quite similar. The text is quite similar to the background, and then you see how you have this text that's coming to you at 4:50. and then you have 10 minutes to leave the office, and then you just look at it as, oh, I can do this on Monday, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And why would you say I can do this on Monday? Because this just seems like one of those other tasks that has been assigned to you, right?
Hmm.
It's not you're not seeing it as you trying to help the users to
You
use
don't
your
see the bigger
product,
picture. Yeah.
to make your exactly to make your product more usable. You just look at it as another task that's been assigned to you. But then when you are able to see things from the user's perspective, every task that comes to you is more like an opportunity to solve a problem for the user,
Hmm.
as opposed to just another task, another work task that has been assigned to you.
So
If you get what I mean?
if your product owner added a narrative on that issue, that ticket, for example, to say, this is the problem, this is why we should do it like this, would that make, and you had a read through of that, would that make it more, would that, you know, meet that gap you were just speaking about?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
because when the actual person facing a problem expresses it, that expresses that problem to you, it's different from someone else explaining what the problem of another person is. If you get what I mean?
You don't buy it.
Yeah, it's like you're probably it's like you're probably just exaggerating anyway. I know it's I know this is just a little problem. You're just exaggerating so I can do it quicker. You know?
The reason I ask this is because I'm sort of, so I'm on the other side, and there's always a tension between sort of the product owner and the, you guys, the software engineers, because you feel
Mhm.
like we're just giving you work to do, isn't it? Like you
Very
said, like
much.
we're just exaggerating, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to understand, you know what can we sort of do to put the task in a more, to present the task in a more fulfilling way, right? So they can be done, because it's also going to affect how you go about doing it, because you might even put some thought into it and realize, okay, this was a miscalculation, probably like this, and there's that dialogue and there's that collaboration, right? So, so normal agile frameworks, for example, right? Let's talk about Scrum, for example.
Mhm.
um there are certain thing, and different companies, they have their own customizations, that different activities that they put in there, sort of to make it more collaborative. But let's talk about Scrum, right? Before it goes live, right, after the sprint, there's usually some sort of demo activity, right, where you can bring users to. It doesn't happen in all companies, but ideally that's how it should how it should happen, right?
Mhm.
So that, in that sort of environment where you demo the product, right, is that a good way to get feedback? Is that enough? What is enough from your end to sort of get enough empathy from the user? Because like you said, the QAs are there sometimes you get some end users, some actual end users, to
Yeah.
be part of that process. What more do you feel needs to sort of be done?
Well, what I could say is the more, the better. But the thing is, if you as a software engineer uh, get to meet the users too often, then that would actually affect your work. You know,
Yeah.
because then you would
Hmm.
not really have that much time to
To
work
zone in.
on to solve the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
because as you mentioned, you need to zone in and then solve the
Yeah.
problem.
That's why,
I think
they have sprints. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is just it also probably depends on the team as well, the
Hmm.
developers in the team. How many times do you need to meet the user before you understand what the user feels? You know? So I would think that is more like a team related question. But the
So
point
it.
is for you to be
Mhm.
able to see things from the user's point of view. If it only takes you just one I don't know, one session with the end users, then maybe that's enough for that team.
Is it fair to say that if, as a software developer or engineer, right, if you are not sort of seeing the bigger picture, then your product owner is not doing a good enough job of translating that.
I would say yes
Hmm.
ish, because you remember the product owner or slash product manager, depending on the
Hmm.
composition of the team in the company.
Let's just use product owner for today, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So let's just okay. So the product owner decides what the roadmap should be, right?
Hmm.
So he or she should be able to show you what the bigger picture is. It should be able to come up with ideas. Also, developers and engineers are not should also come up with ideas as well,
Ideas.
because you're also using the product. But then the product owner should be able to come up with like a proper roadmap, saying, "Oh, this is what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. For the first quarter, second quarter, this is what we need to achieve. Maybe we need to have this feature." Like the product owner in my company in my team does a really good job. I think he even has his kids playing the game as well, and they come up
Nice
with ideas. They
feedback.
come, yeah, exactly. He gets like
Smart work.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. He gets first hand feedback from them, and
Yeah.
then they tell him that, oh, why don't you do this in the game? Why don't you do that in the game? And then with that, he is able to come up with ideas that we can also add to the game. And then
That guy
every other
is
month,
making his kids work for him.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
every other month we have this new idea or this new feature that we need to add to the product.
Because I think for me personally, like the more you look into it, right? Product ownership it goes beyond us breaking down tasks and putting it in Jira. It
Mhm.
goes into what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
Helping everyone sort of get on board and know the bigger picture. So
yeah,
everyone sort of is more invested in the idea. There's more motivation, there's more fulfillment, either with the users also using the product as such. So there's fulfillment there, there's value there.
yeah,
And as well as, the software team as well, the technical team. There should be fulfillment in actually doing the work. So I think yeah, the first time we had these conversations, I thought you wanted to cancel us product owners first. But I
nah,
think I
yeah,
definitely agree with what you're saying. It speaks about, your product owner, your product specialist, right?
mhm,
If everyone sort of feels, on board, and it's like getting ideas from everywhere and blending it together. Really, that's what it's about. It's not about being the brainy or coming up with the ideas themselves, but drawing the ideas from the right places
yeah.
and putting it together.